want to talk a little bit about a trend I see in European clothes, which is the use of zippers all over the place. And here are two examples that I picked up on in current patterns that I've done for Vogue. And in both cases, the style of the garment really required a separating zipper. And these little items can be tricky to find, although I am now carrying them on my website, and I've just located yet another source for cool zippers, because what I noticed was the European zippers were indeed, they were really cool. They were attractive. They weren't as utilitarian as some of the ones that I find that sort of spill over into the fabric stores. They have a little more pizzazz to them. So what I'm doing oftentimes is I'm letting the zipper lead me to the fabric. And so in the first one that I'm looking at that I have in my hand is a denim. And I was able to find this beautiful, this is the Riri zippers. These are made in Switzerland, and they come with multicolored teeth, and they actually make one that is a blue denim color. So it was a natural choice for this particular fabric. And then another one that they did that I loved is the black one. So here I've used their black zipper that has a combination of like an antique nickel and sterling silver and copper teeth on it. And it really worked well with this particular fabric. So one choice that you have to make as a designer is what zipper, and then you also have to figure out how to put it in. And I figured out a really cool way to put it in, which I'm going to show you. So the fabric that I'm working on today is it's a really snuggly feeling fabric. It's a stretch velveteen or cordless corduroy, and kind of a little mouse color that I like a lot. And I wanted to show you the choices that I looked at for a zipper. And by the way, I collect the zippers. When I find them, I buy them so that I've got them on hand. And these were the ones that I had on hand in my stash right now that were at all remotely possible. So I looked at all of these. And what I'll do is because only a little bit of the zipper shows, see, I will take the fabric and lay it up against it to see which effect I like the best. That one, the color of the zipper seemed too cold. This one, I like the teeth of the zipper, but something about that glittery tape just was not the look I was looking for. The cream-colored one, I like the color of the teeth with my fabric, but I didn't want that white line in there. Now, if I were going to be wearing this jacket in the spring, I probably would go with the lighter color. And the other possibility to consider is that the Riri zippers come in white, pure white cotton tape, which can be dyed. So this tape I could probably dye with any dye, or I could paint with that Dynaflow liquid paint. But what I decided, and this is really the path of least resistance, is that I like the way the black tape just kind of vanished away, and that the teeth on this are more subtle, like the color of the fabric. So this is the zipper I'm going to use. So this is a 22-inch separating zipper. And on this particular style and on this particular fabric, I have got my jacket to the point where the collar is joined to the facing. And the first thing I'm going to do in preparation for the zipper is I'm going to turn these front edges. So this is the front edge that goes down the front of the jacket, up the collar, and then down the facing. And I am going to turn this front edge in under along my 5/8 inch line. So to do this, I use one of these little templates. This will give me, it's quick. It'll give me a nice clean line. There's a little kind of slight variation in the width of my seam allowance there, so I will fudge that a little bit to make it come together. And I'm going to do this on both sides of the jacket. This is the collar. And on the fronts, I cut the fronts along the selvage, so that's what we're looking at here. I love selvages. I love to use selvages as a part of the design. It's not happening on this garment, but it does for me with other things. Okay, so that's one side, and then we'll go ahead and we'll do the same thing to the other side of the jacket, but you can see now how we're kind of laying the preparation for that zipper to get inserted in there. Now, I use my iron like a sculpting tool. So you see, did you see how I quickly went in and gave the fabric a press? What that does is it warms it up, makes it more malleable, makes it easier for me to handle. And while I'm here, let me show you a little trick from tailoring that I will do to get some of the extra bulk out. See, I can just go in and snip that away. This is the kind of thing that I will do as I'm doing the pressing. And it's an old tailoring trick that you eliminate bulk as you go, so then it's not as thick right in that spot. So here we are back at the collar again, and then coming down the facing. And here too, I'm going to just flatten that out. Now this fabric is really stable. If my fabric were stretchy in this direction, it's interesting, this is a stretch woven, it stretches going that way. It does not, it's very stable going in the direction that the zipper is going to go into. But if your fabric is a little wobbly or waffly or too thin or whatever, you can always put a piece of fusible tricot in that seam allowance where the zipper is going to go. You want to make sure that it goes all the way into the fold so that when you press this fold in, the interfacing is caught in there. Here the fabric is heavy and stable, and I don't really need to do that. And then as I work, see, I'll go in and just get rid of that extra bulk in the seam allowance. Okay. So now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for, it's not there, I'm going to make a mark. I'm going to take the collar and I'm going to find the midpoint on the collar, and I like to mark just with a little snip. Okay. So I would do that on both sides. One of the things I keep coming back to, and when I'm sewing and working, is to get it laid out the way it's going to be when it's finished.